I brought my parents a $10,000 Amazon gift card for Christmas, but they just laughed. Is this really the best you can do? I smiled and immediately cut off all their services, electricity, water, internet, and mobile network. Within an hour, 45 missed calls. My name is Daniel Brooks. I'm 34 years old, and I work as a truck driver. I spend 60 hours a week on the road, hauling everything from groceries to construction materials across state lines. It's tough work, early mornings, long nights, bad weather, but it pays the bills. $70,000 a year if I put in the hours. Not bad, but not great either, especially when most of my paycheck goes to other people's problems. My parents? Always short on money. My brother Jason? 28 years old, no job, no plans, no shame. And me? I'm the guy who picks up the slack. Or at least, I was. Christmas morning. I walked into my parents' house, shaking the snow off my boots. The place smelled like cinnamon and cheap coffee. The Christmas tree stood in the corner, wrapped in old tinsel and broken lights. Beneath it, piles of gifts. I already knew who they were for. Jason was on the couch, half asleep, hoodie up, controller in hand. Mom was stirring something on the stove. Dad sat at the table, flipping through a stack of bills, grumbling under his breath. I took a deep breath, pulled out the small envelope from my jacket, and set it down in front of them. "Merry Christmas," I said. Mom wiped her hands on her apron and picked it up. She slid the $10,000 Amazon gift card out and squinted at it like it was written in a foreign language. Dad leaned over to look. Silence. Then, they laughed. Not the happy kind. Not the, "Oh my God, Daniel, you shouldn't have" kind. No. This was mocking. Mom shook her head, tossing the card onto the table. "Is this really the best you can do?" I blinked. "What?" Dad chuckled, rubbing his forehead. "A gift card, Danny? That's just lazy." Jason snorted from the couch. "Yeah, man. At least put some thought into it." Thought? Like the $12,000 I wired them in June when they forgot to pay their mortgage? Or the $5,000 I handed Jason when his car got repossessed? Or the countless times I covered the electric bill? I stared at them, my fingers curling into fists. "You ungrateful people." I stopped myself, exhaling through my nose. I forced a smile. A slow, deliberate, knowing smile. "You're right," I said, slipping my phone out of my pocket. "Maybe I can do better." I tapped a few buttons. Electricity, off. Water, OFF. Internet, off. Mobile network, off. The house went dark. The TV flickered and died. Jason's game froze, his screen going black. Mom's phone lost service mid-scroll. Dad's coffee machine let out a weak beep before shutting down. Jason sat up fast. "What was that?" He jabbed at his controller. "Dude, my game." Mom frowned, shaking her phone. "Did the Wi-Fi just go out?" Dad tapped at his phone, then looked up at me. "Danny, what did you do?" I slid my phone back into my pocket. "Enjoy Christmas," I said smoothly. I turned and walked toward the door, calm, steady. Behind me, chaos erupted. "Danny." Mom's voice rose. "Fix this." "Are you serious right now?" Jason snapped. "Dude, my whole console just..." Dad slammed his fist on the table. "Daniel, don't you walk out that door." I stepped outside, closed the door behind me, and exhaled into the cold winter air. My phone buzzed. 10 missed calls. Then 20. Then 30. By the time I pulled out of the driveway, the count had hit 45. And I smiled. I barely made it home before my phone started blowing up. Family group chat. 32 new messages. I tossed my phone onto the table, ignoring it. For the first time in years, I wasn't rushing to fix their problems. Instead, I made myself a cup of coffee, sat down, and enjoyed the silence. The next morning, bam, bam, bam. Someone was pounding on my door like the house was on fire. I sighed, already knowing who it was. When I opened the door, Mom stood there, arms crossed, face red with anger. "You think this is funny, Daniel?" She snapped. "Good morning to you too, Mom," I said, sipping my coffee. She stormed inside without waiting for an invitation. "What is wrong with you? You ruined Christmas." I raised an eyebrow. "I ruined Christmas? How exactly?" Mom scoffed, throwing her hands in the air. "Are you serious? That thing you gave us? The $10,000 gift card?" I said flatly. She laughed bitterly. "A gift card, Daniel? That's what you thought was appropriate? After everything we've done for you? After we told you exactly what we wanted?" I stared at her, confused. "What are you talking about?" She rolled her eyes. "Oh, don't pretend you don't understand. You know very well we wanted the 85-inch OLED TV, the $20,000 one. We told you about it for months. Your father even sent you the link. I blinked. You seriously expected me to spend 20 grand on a TV? Yes, Daniel. We expected you to get something nice for your family. Something that showed you actually cared. Not just throw money at us like some lazy afterthought. I laughed, shaking my head. Unbelievable. Mom's voice sharpened. You knew how much this meant to us. And instead, you brought, what? A piece of plastic and said, here, figure it out yourself. It's $10,000, I said, crossing my arms. You could buy a TV with it if you want. That's not the point, she snapped. We wanted a real gift. Something special. But no, you had to be cheap. You had to embarrass us in front of Jason. You humiliated us, Daniel. Embarrass you? I let out a short laugh. Mom, I work 60 hours a week to keep this family afloat. I've paid your bills. I've covered Jason's debts. I've handed over thousands without question. And you're standing here, calling me cheap. Her jaw clenched. You're making this about money. It's about respect. We asked for one thing, and you couldn't even do that for us. Instead, you ruined Christmas with your selfishness. I exhaled slowly. Wow. Just, wow. She wasn't done. And then, to make it worse, you throw a tantrum and shut off everything. The power, the water, the internet. Daniel, do you know how humiliating that was? We had to sit in silence like we were living in the dark ages. I shrugged. Oh, you mean like when you laughed in my face after I handed you a $10,000 gift? She scowled. You're being ridiculous. You're punishing us over nothing. Nothing? I let out a bitter chuckle. You know what, Mom? You're right. I should have bought you the TV. She looked smug for a second until I continued. I should have walked into the store, handed them my entire savings, and proudly said, here's a gift for the people who don't appreciate a single thing I do for them. Her face paled. That's not it. No, I cut her off. I get it now. It was never about the money. It was about control. It wasn't enough that I gave you something huge. You wanted to make sure I gave you exactly what you demanded. She folded her arms. That's what families do, Daniel. They listen to each other. They care. I shook my head, finally done. No, Mom. Caring goes both ways. She sighed heavily, shifting tactics. Listen, honey, I don't want to fight. Just fix this, okay? Turn everything back on. Apologize to your father. And maybe if you save up, you can still L. I laughed in disbelief. You still think I'm buying you that TV? Her lips thinned. Daniel, if you walk away from your family over something this small, you'll regret it. I looked her straight in the eye. If walking away means I finally get to live my own life, I won't regret a single thing. Her face hardened. Fine. If that's how you feel, don't bother coming back. I took a slow sip of my coffee and shut the door in her face. For the first time in my life, I felt free. I was grabbing a coffee on my way to work when my phone finally buzzed. Dad calling. I sighed, debating whether to answer. Finally, I picked up. Yeah. Dad exhaled sharply. We need to talk. Face to face. Why? We're having a family meeting. Tonight. Be here at 7. I'm busy. Daniel. His voice hardened. You've made your point. But this? This has gone too far. You need to come home and fix this mess. I laughed. Fix what? You mean the mess where I stopped letting you treat me like an ATM? His tone immediately turned cold. Enough. Be there. That's not a request. Then he hung up. 7 p.m., the family ambush. I parked outside my parents' house, gripping the steering wheel for a moment. I wasn't here to negotiate. I wasn't here to apologize. I was here to say my final piece. I stepped inside. The living room was tense, Mom on the couch, arms crossed. Dad standing near the fireplace, Jason slouched in his usual spot, scrolling his phone. I barely had time to sit before Mom launched into it. I just don't understand you, Daniel, she started, shaking her head dramatically. After everything we've done for you, this is how you repay us? I leaned back. Everything you've done for me? What exactly is that? She gasped, clutching her chest like I just stabbed her. Dad stepped in, his voice sharp. Don't disrespect your mother. She raised you. She raised Jason, too. But I don't see him being forced to pay your bills. Jason snorted without looking up from his phone. That's 'cause I'm not naive enough to fall for it. My hands clenched into fists. Of course. He knew exactly what he was doing all these years, and he milked it for everything it was worth. Mom ignored Jason's comment and focused back on me. You used to be such a good son, Daniel, she said, shaking her head. You always took care of us. And now? You've turned into someone selfish. Dad nodded in agreement. Your mother's right. Family sticks together. That's how it works. I laughed bitterly. Oh, now we're talking about how families work? Where was all this family unity when I was the only one paying for everything? Mom exhaled dramatically. No one forced you, Daniel. That made me snap. No, Mom. You didn't force me. You just manipulated me. Every time you called crying about overdue bills, every time you played the "we gave you life" card, every time you guilt-tripped me into bailing you out, you didn't have to force me. You just knew I'd be too good of a son to say no. The room fell dead silent. Dad cleared his throat. Look, let's stop pointing fingers. We just need to find a way to move forward. I exhaled slowly. I agree. Mom perked up, thinking she'd won. Finally, you're being reasonable. I shook my head. I'm done. Her smile vanished. What? I'm done, I repeated. I'm done paying your bills. I'm done supporting Jason. I'm done being your personal cash machine. From now on, you all figure it out without me. Jason laughed. Yeah, okay. Let's see how long that lasts. Mom's face twisted with panic. Daniel, don't be rash. I stood up. No. You made this decision when you laughed in my face on Christmas morning. Dad's voice turned cold. You walk out that door, Daniel, and don't bother coming back. I turned to him. You know what, Dad? I hope you enjoy that empty house. Then I walked out. And this time, I wasn't looking back. I expected silence. I thought after that final blow-up, they'd cut me off completely. I was wrong. The real fallout didn't come immediately. It came in waves. 1 week later, I was finishing up a delivery when my phone buzzed. Mom calling. I ignored it. Voicemail, one new message. I sighed, rolling my eyes, and hit play. Daniel, honey, I know you're upset, but this has gone on long enough. We're family, and right now, we're struggling. Your father and I had to take out a loan just to cover last month's bills. Do you know how humiliating that is? You're really gonna let your own parents suffer like this? Call me back. Please. I deleted it. Because here's the truth. They weren't struggling. They were adjusting. For the first time in years, they were forced to live within their means, which, apparently, was a fate worse than death. And Jason? I hadn't heard from him at all, which was suspicious, because Jason never stayed quiet unless he was up to something. 2 weeks later, I was at the grocery store, stocking up for the week, when I heard a voice behind me. Well, look who it is. I turned to see Jason, standing there with a smug grin, a case of beer in his hand. Didn't think I'd run into you, big bro, he said, leaning against the shelf like he had all the time in the world. I grabbed a loaf of bread and turned back toward my cart. Not in the mood, Jason. Ah, come on, he teased. You're not still mad about Christmas, are you? I didn't respond. Because what was there to say? Jason sighed dramatically. Look, man, I get it. You wanted to prove a point. But it's been, what, 2 weeks? We both know you're gonna cave eventually. You always do. I laughed. Because, for the first time in my life, I knew he was wrong. I turned to him, shaking my head. Not this time. Jason snorted. Yeah, okay. Let's see how tough you are when Mom and Dad lose the house. I stopped cold. What are you talking about? His grin widened. Oh, you didn't hear? They're really behind on payments now. Dad said if something doesn't change soon, they might have to sell. Mom's been crying about it all week. I should have felt bad, but I didn't. I felt angry. Not because they were in trouble, because I knew they were lying. Mom had used this trick before. Flashback, last year. Daniel, I hate to ask, but the mortgage is past due again. We could lose the house. Just until we get back on our feet. I sent the money. Then, 2 weeks later, I found out Mom had bought Jason a new gaming setup. Flashback, 3 years ago. Daniel, please, we're desperate. Just this once, help us out. I sent the money. A month later, they took a trip to Vegas. I clenched my jaw. You really think I'm falling for that again? I asked. Jason shrugged. Hey, believe what you want. But when they end up homeless, don't come crying to me. I grabbed my cart and walked away. Because I finally understood something. Jason wasn't warning me. He wasn't concerned. He was taunting me. Because he thought he'd already won. 3 weeks later. Text from Mom. Daniel, we're having a family dinner on Sunday. Please come. Let's talk. I stared at the message. I knew it was a trap. But a small, twisted part of me wanted to go. Not to apologize. Not to fix things. But to see them squirm. So I replied. See you Sunday. Sunday night. The final showdown. When I walked into my parents' house, the atmosphere was off. The table was set. Mom and Dad sat across from each other. Jason was there too, arms crossed, smirking like he already knew the outcome. Mom smiled, a forced smile. "Daniel, sweetheart, I'm so glad you came." I sat down. "Let's skip the small talk. Why am I here?" Dad sighed, rubbing his temples. "Look, son, we all said things we didn't mean. But let's be real. You can't just abandon your family. We need to figure out a way to move forward." Mom nodded. "We're willing to forgive you, honey. We just need to set some ground rules." I almost laughed. "Forgive me?" Jason leaned forward, grinning. "It's simple, bro. You start helping out again. Not as much as before. Just, enough." I shook my head. "You don't get it, do you?" Dad frowned. "What's there to get?" I leaned forward, smiling. "I am. Done." Silence. Mom's face twisted. "Daniel, don't be ridiculous." "No," I cut her off. "This isn't a negotiation. This isn't up for discussion. You're on your own now." Jason laughed. "Oh yeah? And what happens when things get bad, huh? You think you can just walk away from us forever?" I stood up. "I already did." Mom gasped. "Daniel, please." But I was already walking to the door. And as I stepped outside, I heard Jason's voice behind me. Low, smug, "One last shot. You'll be back. You always come back." I turned my head just enough to meet his eyes. And I smiled. "Not this time." Then I shut the door. And I never looked back. It's been 6 months since I walked out of that house. 6 months of silence. No calls. No texts. No guilt trips. For the first time in years, I wasn't carrying anyone but myself. And I've never felt better. You'd think that after all that time, they would have let it go. That they would have moved on. But people like them, they never move on. They just wait until they can pull you back in. Life without them. It's funny how much changes when you stop bleeding yourself dry for others. I got a new apartment. Not huge, not fancy, but mine. I started taking time off work, finally using my vacation days. I picked up hobbies, things I never had time for because I was too busy being their personal bank. And my bank account? Let's just say, for the first time in my life, I actually had savings. I wasn't living paycheck to paycheck anymore. I wasn't constantly checking my balance, waiting for the next emergency call from Mom. I wasn't waking up every morning with that heavy weight on my chest. And my stress levels? Gone. No more midnight phone calls. No more just a small loan requests. No more Jason breathing down my neck, expecting a handout. But the best part? I didn't feel guilty anymore. Not once. Not until the call came. The last attempt. It was a Sunday afternoon when my phone buzzed. "Incoming call, Mom." I stared at the screen. It had been months. I almost ignored it. Almost. Curiosity got the best of me. I picked up. "Daniel." Mom's voice was soft, hesitant. "Yeah," I said, my tone unreadable. A pause. Then, sniffling. "Honey, I just wanted to say I'm sorry." I didn't say anything. I just waited. "For everything," she continued. I know we didn't appreciate you the way we should have. And things have been really hard without you." I leaned against my car. "Hard how?" Another pause. Then, a quiet confession. "Jason moved out." I raised an eyebrow. "Really?" "Yes," she sighed. He found a girlfriend. They got a place together. And now it's just me and your father, and..." Her voice cracked. "I miss you, Danny." I let those words sit for a moment. 6 months ago, they would have destroyed me. Now, I just felt tired. "You don't miss me," I said finally. "You miss what I did for you." Silence. She started. Then stopped. Because she knew I was right. I exhaled slowly. "Mom, I hope you and Dad figure things out." But I meant what I said. "I'm done." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "So that's it. You're just gone." I closed my eyes. "No, Mom," I said softly. "I was gone years ago. You just didn't notice until the money stopped." She didn't argue. She just cried. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel responsible for fixing it. I ended the call. And I smiled. Reddit reaction. After all this, I did what any rational person would do. I went on Reddit and wrote the whole thing out. Was I wrong for cutting my family off after they laughed at my $10,000 Christmas gift? And let me tell you. Top comment. You were their personal piggy bank, and the moment you stopped, they realized they actually had to be responsible adults. Good for you, Opie. My reaction? Absolutely right. Another comment. You gave them $10K and they laughed? Bro, my parents would have cried tears of joy if I gave them $100. That one hit me, because it made me realize just how warped my family's expectations were. One more. I love how Jason magically found a girlfriend when the money dried up. Coincidence? I think not. I laughed at that one, because I had thought the exact same thing. And the wildest part? A comment from someone who actually recognized me. Wait, this sounds exactly like my cousin's family. If this is Daniel from Ohio, bro, your family talks so much shit about you at reunions. And they still think you'll come back. I just sat there staring at the screen. They really thought I'd come back. After everything? I typed my response. Tell them not to hold their breath. The final closure. A year later, I was having coffee with a friend when I got a text. Unknown number. Hey bro, long time no talk. We should catch up. Jason. I stared at the message, shaking my head. Then I deleted it. Because I didn't owe him anything. Not anymore. I paid my dues. I learned my lesson. I walked away, and I never looked back. And I never felt freer.